And then it's your show.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the May meeting of the ErieNet Local Development Corporation. To begin, I'll take a quick roll. Dan Castle here, Mike Breeden here, Slater Mills here, Mayor Skipper present, Jason Keating present, Mayor
Here.
And we do have a forum, but let the record reflect that Legislator Gilmore is absent, Jeremy Toth is absent, John Spears is not here, but represented by our guest. And Elizabeth Priest is absent, but we do have a forum in the room. Also had an opportunity to review the April minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the April minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We'll move right into the report of the chair. So, as most of you know, John Spears. With him as a journey. Represented by
Surrender Doherty. I am the Deputy Director of Public Services for the Buffalo Area County Public Library. Thank you for allowing me to sit in your board meeting.
welcome.
And definitely thank you for the thoughts and prayers, John. Appreciate it.
I've had the privilege of working with Joanna for the last 4 years, and President of Library Trustees for the county. It is a privilege and an honor that she's joined us.
Thank you.
So we're certainly happy to have you, and any questions that you have, this board is to give information, and feel free to ask questions, but free flowing. Certainly if you have questions of myself or of course of Melissa, as you get up to speak, get ourselves to you. So welcome. And if nothing else, we can go right into number 3 in our agenda, Executive Director's report.
All right. Awesome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to May. That feels like April, maybe March. So your financials are, obviously within the packet, so you can take a look at that. We do have some updates, some good news. So we did just recently, this past week, receive a conditional award for our MIP Phase 4 grant application, which was the $10 million we discussed last month. This would include some lateral builds, network equipment, be huge for the county as well as for the city of Buffalo and Lackawanna. Those are the 3 main municipalities, obviously, that we included for this grant. We also included both DRI grants areas, which is in the hamlet of Aurora, West Falls, as well as Angola, that just was awarded, and of course the city of Lackawanna, city of Buffalo, the county. So it would be a really great opportunity for ErieNet, but a really great opportunity for those 3 municipalities that were mentioned, as well as the 2 grant areas.
So just add that we also included laterals for the PSAPs.
Oh, yes. We've received a conditional award before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how long are the terms of this conditional award?
Yeah, the difference being that what was included in well, first of all, Connect on the MIP grant is through Phase 4, so they've worked out their kinks. We applied for Phase 1, and what we believe happened, I can't say for sure, is there was a lot of lobbying that included against middle mile networks being included in a lot of that grant funding. And so this Phase 4 specifically is for middle mile. And so we do feel a little bit more confident that what we applied for, and we asked questions ahead of time, should be obviously something that could be awarded. Now, we have a list of about 15 questions, 10, 12 questions that need to be answered by the end of business day tomorrow. We have a meeting set up with them for the following week, obviously to start the process of going back and forth. And once that's all straightened out, we anticipate we should get a full award, but of course, we've been here before. So I wasn't like jumping up and down like last time, but I do feel better about it than I would have at the end of our MIP phase one. Also, any questions on that? I'm gonna connect. We're gonna set up a meeting.
Are you able to answer those 12 questions?
Yes, Mom. Yeah, most of them written up already.
They gave us 5 days.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Assuming that, in the not too distant future, we're gonna have to start talking about loan borrowing.
Not necessary.
No?
For this one, but we'll see. We'll go over all of that. But the good part of this is, I don't want to jump the gun. We might not necessarily have to do that. We should have the funds up front at this point.
No, that'd be great.
So, what was I gonna say? There's one more thing I was gonna say about the Connect All. So anyway, as we work through it, we do want to set up a meeting with the city of Buffalo, which will be reaching out to those players just so that they have a full understanding of, what this would mean for the city of Buffalo if we were to receive it, and start getting them prepped, because we would really need to move forward. Of course, the county already kind of knows what this would mean for them. We've already gone through the IRU process with them, and Lackawanna, we have a meeting with coming up next week or the week after, I think the first week of June. So anyway, all good news coming out of last week. We also have been working with 2 internet service providers. We have NDAs, so I won't mention who, but 2 internet service providers who were granted MIP funding, or no, not MIP funding, but affordable grant, housing grant money through Connect All. And I've mentioned before, we're working with them, but we've moved to a next phase where finalizing our proposals to them, and we anticipate probably by next meeting having some formal agreement with them to bring to the board. And one of them is mainly working on affordable housing units within the city of Buffalo, and one of them is primarily working within the rest of Erie County, more rural, outer suburb type areas, which would really be great for ErieNet's agenda. Of course, that's one of our main goals, to connect affordable housing. And then we do have some news on the sales executive side. Matt, your guy, want to kind of talk about that, and then you can go into it.
Sure. Greg Cooper has been our sales rep for ErieNet the last 10 months. Fortunately for Greg, unfortunately for me, Greg's decided to retire. He's got some pressing family issues that he has to put first. So respect that, but so now we're recruiting for a new position. Actually had lunch with a very viable candidate. So I'm going to get that position filled again shortly. In the interim, I'm keeping up with the sales that are in play. Maybe by June meeting, we'll have something to announce.
And then also we have Jamie Starks, who's Joe's daughter, is also assisting with some of the sales.
Yeah, I'll just mention, Jamie actually was just in a conference 2 weeks ago. And she's been talking with a few carriers about the Erie County market that they're in, and interested in partnering with us to deliver network services, internet services, using ErieNet fiber, but they would provide the service. So more to come on that as we get past preliminaries, give us something concrete.
We did get a request for asking us to put a bid in.
I saw that.
I think it's now that we're getting built, we are starting to get a lot more phone calls. Exciting stuff.
There's also an Erie one posties. Service that we're looking at. So I'll look into my report. Permitting and make ready are still our primary focus to clear. Our make ready is nominally through the survey and design phase. We're doing make ready construction, including grid make ready construction now. Grid is catching up. That's important. City of Buffalo is primarily grid. So that's moving forward. The City of Buffalo permitting has worked itself out. We had a good meeting with their permit office as to what they expect to see in traffic protection plans. The city essentially, for every permit application, wants a site-specific traffic protection plan. So it's a little more intensive, but we know what they want. We're including those in all the permits, so that's moving through better. And the office is being responsive to our requests. We also are in the midst of getting all of our contractors licensed in the city of Buffalo. There's a couple of different types of licenses that we're working through with their office. But there's an appearance our contractors have to appear. I believe it's May 21st. No, May 22nd.
Yeah.
May 22nd. And provided there's no surprises, we should have those licenses. So again, that's good timing because the permits are coming through, the grid make ready is coming through. Railroad permits, we're about halfway through all the railroad permits. There's a couple that are more important than others for immediate work, so we're trying to expedite those. And I don't know if anyone has any specific questions.
I think I would just add on the the DOT, we had a good meeting with New York State DOT yesterday, and we're working through trying to get those expedited. It's a long process as well. I think we've had a good conversation and that there are some things on our end we can do better and some things that they can understand better and help us move along in the process. So that,
Yeah. And the information's better between our engineers and the DOT. It's expecting. So that sorted itself out. So the back and forth should be minimized going forward. So the important thing is that in construction, we have we've completed about 10 miles of what we call strand. That's the messenger cable that goes up on the telephone electric poles. And that strand has to go up first. And then we secure our fiber optic cable to that 1/4-inch steel messenger cable. And not only does that get the messenger cable up, it secures our space on the pole. So that's the first step, is to get that strand installed. We've completed 10, we've released another 10 miles for next week. Each day we release more construction packages, and we've released about 8 miles of fiber installation. Strand's already up in the town of Clarence, but there's about 10 miles of fiber cable going up in Clarence next week. In addition to that, a couple months back, we did a resolution to order a specialized ribbon cable, high count, strand count, for the downtown underground work. That arrives on the 30th, 31st of May. And so we're going to launch our underground construction in June. So be connecting the RAF building next door to 350 Main, running cable out to 45 Elm. We got a resolution we're going to talk about where the county has duct available for ErieNet. Agreement agreed to. That also is when we're launching our build out to Lackawanna to get to the BTC co-location, which is important for our Erie One BOCES project and for just our customers in general.
And then real quick, I just want to add that there is more, obviously, construction ready to go for the fiber, but it's not a good idea to continuously cut the fiber. And so we have to wait until there's a continuous amount of miles so that we're not cutting and splicing the fiber. And so because you're working with so many poles, sometimes all the construction doesn't line up where all the fiber in a row is ready to go up. So once they get a certain amount of miles ready for the fiber, then they'll put out the construction, even though pieces of that may have been ready for a while. Does that make sense?
The messaging cable, the steel cable, fiber you don't want to cut because it introduces loss to the signal.
Right, which is why steel cable guarantees is splicing, right?
Right. So for the fiber reels, they tend to be 4 to 5 miles on a reel. So we'd like to have at least a 4-mile segment to release to the contractors for the fiber. And that's now starting to clear. In fact, we think to get into June, we'll have 50 or 60 miles of fiber cleared for install. Then, it's 2 years of make ready and permitting, and then it's probably gonna be 2 or 3 months of fiber installs afterwards. So the log jam is sorting itself out. We have our draft agreement sent to NetSync. NetSync is going to manage the wide area network communications for the county and public safety. Depending on how this grant plays out, it's likely that service will be available for the city of Buffalo as well.
Eventually maybe the library.
Yep. Any of the E-rate type deals will require a managed service component. Melissa already talked about the Connect All grant. We'll have our reply to their letter sent out tomorrow, 28th, week from Wednesday. Meet with them and go over it in detail. We do have 2 proposals for your consideration today. We're at a point now with the city of Buffalo where we need to give some preliminary quotes, IRU proposals, but to discuss that now or to get your sign off. City of Buffalo. IRU. Right now, we're just talking about a dark fiber IRU for the city. Again, depending on how this grant plays out, depending on what Daryl Springer, the City of Buffalo CIO's requirements are, we may be adding an managed network service option. But today's resolution is strictly for the dark fiber.
And why it's important for the board to review that and for us to have those negotiations with the city is because we are going to be putting, as you recall, we committed quite a bit of funding from ErieNet's, our original ARPA funds to build to their sites. And so we need to make sure we have an agreement before we start that permitting process, which costs money. And so that's why we're kind of moving on this now.
And if you recall, there's a one-time IRU fee, and that is rather expensive for some of these municipalities, including Erie County. And so we've included those IRU fees in the grant application. So that's like $720,000 for the county, $192,600 for City of Buffalo, a little bit over $40,000 for Lackawanna. So again, if this grant materializes, those are savings that each of those should see subscribers save.
And those municipalities were specifically targeted because they do have the lower income bracket, and that's something that Connecticut was looking for, but also something that is in our own goals, obviously. And so that's why, and Erie County was the funding base, and obviously incorporates all of our residents. So those are the three municipalities we picked based off of that criteria.
The other resolution today, as far as IRU proposals go, is for Grand Island. Grand Island was an early adopter of ErieNet. They've been on board since 2017 when we were doing the study. They wanted to sign up then, and then been patiently waiting. So I'd like to get a IRU proposal followed up by an IRU agreement to the town. And they're ready to bring that forward to their board. We can talk about the resolutions now or wait till we get to the resolutions.
You can keep going, don't you think?
Yeah.
And then we can just refer back to it.
And then I included proposals submitted. These are IRUs that are in play. Erie One BOCES has actually been agreed to. That's not an IRU, that's a 5-year lease. Mr. Breeden has a 20-year IRU for the county that he's reviewing with a managed network service component. And proposals under development, but really they're quite far along and we'll be likely to bring these forward for resolutions next month. The city of Lackawanna, we would have done that today, but we have another meeting with the city, so we want to get through that meeting one more time before we finalize that. And then the two affordable housing grant recipients, we're under NDA, so it's closing, and we're at that point. Finalize those proposals. But if you look under the revenue columns, you'll see it adds up to a rather sizable amount of revenue that we'll be realizing in 26.
Much needed,
So,
but will be.
and what you see on this sheet, there's that amount again and another wave that are coming forward. We call it a sales funnel. You go from an introductory meeting and then you get project requirements, then you put a quote out, then you get a request for a formal proposal, then you get an agreement, and then you have a contract out at the end of the funnel. So what I'm showing you here is near the end of the funnel with high probability of closing. There is some revenue on the way. Any other questions?
The revenue on this is the actual amount realized, the difference between the revenue and the capital investment, or is the revenue the total amount?
So the revenue is the total amount realized contract. The net profit after tax is the revenue less the capital investment,
Oh,
less the operating cost.
Gotcha.
And then, so those are our metrics. When a net profit greater than 0,
Mm-hmm.
we want a margin around 15% better. And the reason why some of these have such high margins is because capital investment is being covered by ARPA. So we still want the board to understand it's still ARPA money that we're committing. But we don't have to pay that back. It's not a bond that has to be paid back. So that's why the net margins, some of these are, I don't want to say artificially high, but we're counted for that. Payback less than 5 years. All of these show that all the metrics are met for the resolutions. In fact, for everything on this page. The midpoint, that's mainly the midpoint if a subscriber should decide to cancel the contract halfway in. It's kind of a measure of risk. We had early termination charges in the contract. So if they cancel early, they're still, they have to pay that early termination charge. But what happens if they went chapter 11? What happened if they just said, try and come and get it? It's what's that level of risk? And if it's greater than 0, it means that at the midpoint, we still would have made that much money. It still would have been positive for us. So we'd like to see that greater than 0. It's not to say we might not do something that was less than 0, but we'd have to talk about it.
And then just a real quick note here is the audit and finance committee, Mark, could have done the Grand Island one, but since you're not meeting till next month, we thought we would, and to show a range to the board, just have the board approve it.
A lot of these go through, say,
Yeah.
so it's
It's good
a
for
little
everyone.
bit of a refresher to remember all of our.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
In my opinion, these are all pretty straightforward.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, we're all set, I think.
Right, moving on to number 4, no committee met this month, so we don't have any reports. There's no unfinished business or new business, so we'll jump right into our resolutions and discussion period. Feel free to ask questions if you have any more questions that come up, but I think Matt pretty much covered all of the resolutions except for 2025-15, which was addressed. So diving right in, resolution 2025-12, resolution of the ErieNet Local Development Corp. Authorizing the negotiation and execution of a certain license agreement. Collectively, the license agreements by and between the corporation and the county for the use of certain county-owned real property. That's more particularly described here in motion. Under reason, seconded by Mark. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Resolution 2025-13, resolution of the ErieNet Local Development Corporation authorizing the issuance of customer proposal to the city of Buffalo. We have a motion. For now.
I'll get this one.
I think Jason got the second. Very rare, non-like reading.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions, motion carries. 2025-14, a resolution of the corporation authorizing the issuance of customer proposal to the town of Grand Island. Have a motion.
So moved.
Seconded. News. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carried. Last but not least, resolution 2025-15, resolution of the ErieNet Local Development Corp. Authorizing the executive director to enter into a proposal with USI Insurance for the procurement of insurance on behalf of the corporation. I have a motion. Motion. Second. And Green, seconded by Dan Castle. Melissa?
Sure. So, late last week, USI, who does our majority of our insurance, our general liability, all of that, sent over a proposal, not on my radar at all. We had a 2-year agreement. In my head, it was probably a 3. It was not on my calendar. So it has to be renewed by the end of the month. It was very minimal increase. I think it was like 1.2. I think it was less than a percentage. And they've been great. I just want to do a background. Before I came on, or right around the time I was coming on, we did have a quote. Thomas went out for quotes. We had a quote from Lawley. That's who the Erie County used, for over $100,000. We couldn't believe the cost. Thomas went out to quite a few insurance companies because we were in the build. it was difficult to get this insurance. We then, and somehow you were connected with someone from USI. They went out and quoted, most of it's Philadelphia. I mean, there's a variety of different insurance companies who cover it. And it came in, I think, around 19,000 at that time. We've had to add on a couple of insurances based off the requirements of those that we work with. So we were around 22,000. We're a little bit over 22,000 for this proposal. They've been great to work with. They're very responsive. However, our attorneys are recommending that we probably do an RFP. And that's up to you. So we have two choices. We can continue on and sign in a 1 year agreement with USI Insurance. We can sign this, which we'll need to do because June 1, we need to be covered. And then we can go out for the RFP process. If somebody comes back and we prefer that, then we can switch insurances. We're not tied to this. You can always cancel and move on to different insurances. So I'm happy to do that. We'll probably look for a 3-year term, which typically you would do for insurance is 2 to 3 years, usually 3. So, which I can do, but we do need to, nothing concerns me on this. It's what we've had, it was very minimal increase. And in fact, they added, it may even be around the same price because they added in one that used to be separated. So, we will have to make an action on it today, but it's up to the board if we want to keep it for another year before we do RFP, or I can go out for RFP and we can look at those.
Just for context, the experience that I had seeking insurance for ErieNet response to that, I've seen that a lot of the insurance companies weren't really familiar with this sort of startup, weren't really familiar with, middle mile networks altogether. And they weren't sure how to assess the risk is what it boils down to. So that's why we had the range of, I think people remember we got like $100,000 quote, and finally I was able to get.
I think it's about 19,000.
Yeah, and really what drove my thinking about the disparity was I reached out to Jeff STN. He was like, "Yeah, we're paying like 20,000 or something." Like that. So that was the baseline that I was shooting from, and realized that some folks are saying 100,000+. So,
And a lot wouldn't quote it at all.
right, and then there's that folks would purchase out of their league relative to the type of organization that we have. So that's just some background, the experience that I had. The USI was really like, phone book sort of, let's try this, people, they're local, and then it just so happened to work out.
Yeah, they've been great.
I think at this point, we have to renew it, so going for another year, I'm fine with that.
And then RFP within that.
Yeah, so we would do it in March. Yeah, so we would do the RFP in March for a June 1 renewal.
And then we have time to evaluate it.
Yeah.
And another year of working with them.
And maybe
The market changed.
Right, I was gonna say, maybe the market has caught up to like what this is.
Right.
And will be built. That's the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the brokers that don't understand us, or is it the reinsurers that don't understand us, or a little of both?
A little.
I think
From my experience.
And the fact we're a new corporation, so we don't have an experience rating. Here it is.
And Wally was really because they said we were in our building period. That's why everything was so high. But we've had to go out for more insurances. It's been very easy with USI. I mean, we had one thing was hard was the Verizon $100,000 bond or whatever we had to do. That took some time and some money, but
I think you may have heard of USI from us because there are underwriters. And so since we design and manage open access networks, and we shopped it and we found that they had the best rates for professional liability, tech and error, which is just general. And it's brutal out there.
okay, so that's what we'll do.
Did you have plenty?
So we'll do the March, I'll put the RFP down. It's already in my calendar for March of 26. We'll review in the May meeting of 26.
See, vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. If nothing else,
Motion to adjourn.
I need a second. All in favor? Aye.
So the next meeting is June 17th, and there will be an audit and finance meeting prior to that. We'll send that out on.
For,